Hi guys, my name is Rick. I am the Senior Technical Support Lead here at Line 6, and what I'm going to show you how to do now is how to record a dry, unprocessed track, meaning no effects, no amp modeling, just straight guitar sound through your UX2 into GarageBand, and then I'm going to show you how to pull PodFarm up as a plugin from within GarageBand. So the reason why some people might want to do this is because some people like to loop dry tracks and dial in their tones with plugins in real time to get that sound that they want, as opposed to recording the recording the processed sound beforehand. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it the former way. We're going to record a dry track or send a dry track out of the UX2 into GarageBand and then instantiate the PodFarm plugin within GarageBand. So how do we do that? Okay, so the first thing you actually have to do is you actually have to launch PodFarm standalone. And the reason why you have to launch PodFarm standalone is because you need to set your input and output options in the mixer view in PodFarm. So I've got PodFarm standalone launched. I'm going to bring it up. I've got my familiar dual tone patch going on right now. I've got the same amp and cab modeling and the same vocal patch. What we're going to do now is focus on the mixer, and if you don't see that, if you're probably on a different view, so just click on mixer over here. Okay, so tone 1 is my instrument. It's my amp and cab signal, and that's what I want to route as a dry input into GarageBand. So what you need to do is you need to actually set it here. It may be set on tone 1, it may be set on mix tone 1 and 2, but we want to set it to dry inputs. Okay, tone 2 is fine the way it is. It's not going to come into play. I'm basically using a dual tone patch just to record this tutorial. Okay, so once you've got your dry input selected, you're good to go. I have to leave this open because my vocals will go away if I close it, but at this point you would most likely be able to close out of the program and launch GarageBand. So I'm just going to minimize it, and now I'm going to go ahead and bring up GarageBand. I've already got it launched. I'm just going to pull it up. I've got a new audio track created in GarageBand, and if you're not sure how to do that, I went to track and I went to new track, or you can just click on the plus sign here and it'll create a new track for you. And I've got a real instrument track created. One thing I want to stress again, I set my preferences to be the UX2 in regards to the audio output and audio input. First thing you should do when you launch a program is do this, guys. Very first thing. Alright, so let's close out of that. Alright, so I've got the track armed for recording. I've got my guitar in my hand, and I'm going to record a dry track. Now, since I have PodFarm standalone sitting down there in the tray, you're going to hear a processed sound. You're going to hear my amp and cab modeling, but I won't be recording it. I'm only going to be recording the dry input. One other thing to note down here in my input source, I've got it set to a mono track. I'm not using the stereo 1-2, so it's just going to be a mono track. I'm also going to be monitoring from the PodFarm app down here. I'm not going to be monitoring through GarageBand. If you have them both on, you're going to hear this weird phasing. So if you ever hear that and you're playing with PodFarm standalone, make sure that your monitoring is either off in your recording application or you've turned your monitoring down in the PodFarm standalone app, and that'll get rid of that weird phasey sound. So let's go ahead and record just a quick loop here. Okay, perfect. So one thing to note here is look at my WAV file. It's really tiny. That's a good sign because it means that that's that dry, weak signal. And it's okay if it's that small, because when you bring up the plugin's going to boost that signal for you. So if you see that and you're concerned about it, don't sweat it. It's fine. If I play this back, I'm hearing in my headphones just a straight dry signal. It just sounds like my guitar. Sounds like just a dry guitar. So that's a good sign. Okay, so we've got our loop, we've got our riff, we like it. Let's go ahead and actually see if we can loop this riff, and you can loop by pressing this button down here and just dragging the points, the loop points. Okay, So we've got our loop. It's dry. Now we want to mess with the sound. Okay. So how do you instantiate PodFarm as a plugin? How do we apply effects to it at this point? Simple. Over here in this side of GarageBand, you'll see a Browse tab and you'll see an Edit tab. We're going to click on Edit. And here's our insert area, if you will. This is where you pull up different plugins. We've already got a noise gate pulled up, a compressor. Those are, I think, defaulted within GarageBand. So let's pull up the PodFarm plugin. So right here it says click here to add an effect. We're going to click. Here's all of our plugins. A lot of these come with GarageBand out of the box. At the bottom, if you've activated your features like we did in the other tutorial, you should see PodFarm. So let's click on it. Okay, here it is. Alright, so well, where's the interface? Well, all you got to do is click right here. It should bring the interface up, and there it is. Okay, so we've got PodFarm pulled up as a plugin. This is where it gets a lot of fun. You can loop your track in GarageBand, and while you're looping it and hearing it and playing it and monitoring it and all that good stuff, you can mess with your settings, which is a lot of fun. So you can, you know, X out of that. You want that rolling jazz or that jazz clean model. You can click and drag in the brick gain. You can drag in effects, all in real time while you're changing your sound. And that's basically it in a nutshell. That's how you pull up PodFarm as a plugin from within GarageBand.